Hi folks, my name is Robin Prasad, and today I'll be giving you an overview about what is a webinar as well as how to use a webinar. So let's begin. Well, you may ask, what is a webinar? Well, a webinar is basically a seminar presented over the internet through live streaming or through audio in real time. And real time meaning that it's live at a certain place and time. There's a presenter, and it's an actual seminar, just very much like a traditional seminar. Instead, you need to be you don't have to be there present. You can be there online. It's very interactive. At a traditional seminar, you may have a room capacity of say 20 people or 50 people, depending on what room or how your traditional seminar is created and made for. Whereas a webinar, it's the same thing. You can invite one person, or you can invite as many as 500 people, for example. And once again, it's very interactive, meaning that each of those people will have access to be engaged within the webinar. This allows also for anyone to be all over the world. Since you're using a computer, I can be in New York, somebody can be in Europe, somebody else can be in Australia. No matter where you are in part of the world, you're able to log on and you can be part of this real-time seminar that's taking place. But knowing that you have to be looking at the time zones and the date. This also allows for accessibility. So you don't have to be at a place physically. You can be at the community of your own home. You can be on vacation. You can be at a coffee shop, and you can still attend this webinar. And all in all, it caters to the 21st century learner. So using technology, using many of the tools of the computer, and through the program, which we'll be using is Adobe Connect, to engage in conversating, collaborating with ideas, sharing of resources, etc. So there's a lot of technology tools that you can be engaged in using the computer aspect of the webinar. Alright, so just like a traditional seminar, the webinar is the exact same. You have an organizer, you have a speaker, and you have the audience. These are all the parts that make up the webinar. As with the webinar, there's a lot of different capabilities with it. So we're able to hear people speaking. There's a voice attached with that. We can also speak through chat or through audio or even through typing when that option is available for us. We can view slides, documents, pictures, and we can also share these things with the attendees of the webinar. We can interact and collaborate with everyone by asking questions and choosing specific groups to work with, or allowing for other features of the platform, which we'll be using Adobe Connect to use group settings to once again engage with everyone else online. And once again, we can share programs, slides, and documents by uploading them in any way, shape, or form, that is, through the platform at any given moment in time. So, in order to start a webinar, you must have the essentials. And some of the essentials are a computer. Any PC will do. You definitely need some sort of microphone. Usually your computers have a built-in one. If not, you can use a headset, and that's fine. Definitely speakers, working speakers on your computer. You definitely need internet connection, and it should be high-speed internet connection because you don't want there to be a lag time or have a slow process where you're not keeping up with the actual webinar. So your high-speed connection is a must. And you also need to know the date and time of the webinar, not to be late, and to ensure that you're using that time zone accordingly, just in case you're in another part of the country. So don'ts. There's one big don't, and that would be basically ensure that you're not downloading or streaming through other sites while conducting your webinar. This will slow down your whole process and once again, there may be freezing. There will be a lag time on maybe seeing chats or discussions that are happening within the webinar. So don't do that if you want to have a successful webinar. All right, so within a webinar, we want to make sure it's relevant, very impactful, and memorable. And to do these things, it all depends on the presentation or the delivery of your webinar. And we want, once again, the main focus here is keeping your audience engaged. So, how do we hook them? We can do this by many different things. First, we can actually have your audience engaged through humor, or through an engaging icebreaker, or through a thinking question, through your welcome message, etc. So we want to stimulate their minds and have them gain some interest into what you will be presenting. We want to make sure throughout the webinar that you prioritize your key messages that you are trying to promote or you're wanting the audience to come away with. We want to make sure it's meaningful. We want to make sure it's effective as well, that it's useful, and that the information is relevant to what the attendees want to know and want to hear, and how it can be useful for them. We also want to make sure that there's active participants. So, having the audience engage through, chat sessions, maybe questions to think about, maybe a poll, something for them to be interactive. We also want to make sure that you include a picture if you're not using the webcam. So, depending on how you set up your webinar, you may not choose to use a webcam, but if you don't choose to do so, it's always good to have a picture of your face so the audience can connect with the voice that's being heard through the webinar. Visuals are key, so we must use visuals throughout the webinar. Any type of visuals is fine. We can incorporate, graphs, movies, any templates, any visuals that will allow the audience to be engaged, keep motivated, allow them to see, the relevance through pictures, and allow for those various learning abilities to want to stay focused. Because we know it's so easy to get distracted or to be less engaged in a presentation. So we want to keep them engaged and allow them to stay focused. One way to do this as well is we can share a story. So sharing a story is always a great idea. You can take, whatever key messages and ideas from your webinar and, throw it into like a story that allows people to see the effectiveness and the meaningful approach towards your key ideas. So a real experience, for example, may be something you want to include within your webinar. So, we want to mix up not just seeing key points, but sharing that story or sharing the visuals and connecting ideas, just to make it more interesting for the audience. Remember, when creating your webinar, remember to create a script so basically you stay focused and organized. Make sure that you review the script so you know what you're talking about and you have all the ideas down packed. So if questions arise, you have answers for it. And also make sure you rehearse and make sure that the components of your computer, webcam, audio, everything is working. So rehearsing is huge. Participants are important within your webinar. So sometimes stop talking and ask for questions. Allow the audience to share their thoughts and ideas and make them feel like a community. Allow them to provide feedback or comments or questions. Allowing this will keep them, once again, engaged and make them feel part of your webinar. So overall, we want to definitely encourage, inspire, strengthen, brighten. We want to create an overall great impression of the webinar to the audience by making them feel part of it, by having them leave with something meaningful, and to want them to come back to see another webinar that you've created. So now we're going to look at Adobe Connect, which is the platform we're going to be using to set up our webinar. And when we set up our webinar, there's a few different steps that needs to be taken. So we're going to use Adobe Connect, and that will be our session on setting it up. Hi folks, so here we're now at the Adobe Connect website. So this site will be given to you, the URL will be given to you when you set up your Adobe Connect account. So mine, I just went right into it and typed, cut and pasted the URL in. Right now I'm going to type in my username, and my username is basically my email address that I had given when setting up the account. And my password was generated by Adobe Connect. So I have my password here. I'm just going to cut and paste it in there. If I'm the administrator, I will have a password. And if you're a guest or guests wanting to come into your webinar, will need a password. And you as the administrator or myself will give them that password. So before I click on login, today we're just going to look at how to set up a meeting. We're going to log into a meeting to see the process. We're going to upload content into the meeting, and we're going to include a short audio through the webcam to see how that works. And then finally, we'll see how to close the meeting as well. So I've entered my username, which is my email account. I entered my password, which was given for me, and I'm going to click on login. So now it brings me to another screen here, and as we can see here, it has a couple of information tabs on the top. We're focused on the meeting tabs here, and it's actually on the meeting tab currently. So we're going to look at, first of all, creating a meeting. So right now I do have one meeting here. It's called webinar. But we're going to create another meeting from scratch. So in order to do this, we need to click on new meeting. And it brings us to another screen, and the first thing it asks us for is a name. So we want to create a name for our meeting. So if your webinar is on cars, you may want to put, imported cars. For our session here, I'm going to put name is how to create a meeting. The next line is the custom URL. So this part of the URL is given to us, and that's going to be the URL for for us to use. It's unique to us the minute we add the remaining ending to the URL. So I'm going to just type in meeting at the end, and this URL now with the word meeting at the end will be the URL that we use to log into our account for this specific meeting, and this is the URL you will give to your participants so they can actually attend this specific meeting. The next line here is a summary. You can choose to write a summary of what your meeting is about. The next one here is start time. You can set the date, time, year, and also the duration of how many minutes it's going to be. You can also select a specific template that you want to share within your meeting by clicking on this drop box here. We can click on the language, which is English, or whatever language you choose. Here as well as access. So it gives us three options. I'm going to click on the last one and give anyone who has the URL can enter the meeting room. The other two has some restrictions, but for this purpose, I'm just going to click on the last one. Once again, giving anyone who has the URL can enter the room. I'm also not going to include any audio conferencing with this meeting. You may choose to use a telephone conferencing solution that's not part of Adobe, or you can use the built-in audio tool for Adobe, which we'll talk about that in a little bit through the presentation. So other than that, we're going to scroll down now. We're not going to use any audio conferencing with this meeting, so we're not going to worry about this piece of information here. We're pretty much done our meeting setup. So I'm going to click on Finish. Okay, so this URL here, apparently the path is reserved, so I'm going to create another name attached to the URL given, because this one is probably taken. So meeting for webinar. Okay, hopefully this one should work. I'm just going to scroll down because all the other information is the same. And finish. And we're onto a new page, which is great. So this page is awesome. Here we have our unique URL for our meeting. So I can click on that to enter our meeting room, or your guest can click on this link to enter the meeting room as well. So you would send that out, or I can just click on this button here to enter our meeting room for the meeting that we've created. So I'm going to do so. I'm going to click on meeting room. And it's just going to load, and it may take a few seconds. Once again, depending on your connection, depending on your computer, but we'll just have to wait till it loads. Now, this layout here is the default layout that Adobe connects for any meeting room. So whatever meeting room you set up, this will be the layout that Adobe Connect provides for us. So with this area here, what I want to do is I want to add content to our meeting room as part of my webinar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this area here, and this area allows us to upload images, pictures, Word documents, PDFs, JPEGs, audio files, you name it. So I'm going to click on this scroll button here. I'm going to click on Share Documents, and I'm going to look for a document that I want to upload. So it brings us to another screen here, and I'm going to click on Browse My Computer to find a file. And the first file I want to upload is the first one I see here on my desktop, and it's called Rates and Ratios, and it's a PDF file. So I'm going to click on that, click on Open, and I'm going to wait for it to upload. It will upload right onto the Adobe Connect meeting layout page here. And voila, this is what my PDF was, and it's part of my meeting room now. Okay, so since we have our file uploaded, now we want to go to the audio part. So I'm going to look for the microphone up here, and I'm going to click on the button here, and I'm going to connect my audio so anyone else in my presentation can hear this. So I want to make sure that whatever I speak, my audience that are attending this webinar will be able to listen and hear me, and to give them that access to it. So this box will pop up once throughout this meeting that I set up, and never again. And I'm going to click on Allow to ensure that everyone is able to hear my recording. Now, we know that it's going to be working, or we can double check this by looking at the microphone now. It's green, and we can see the waves as I speak into my computer and the movement for it. If by chance your microphone's not working, what would you do would be to go to Meeting, click on Audio Setup Wizard, and this will allow Adobe Connect to configure the settings to match with your computer so that your microphone will work. So that's just an option. Now we want to ensure that our webcam is working. So I'm going to move my mouse up here and click on Start My Webcam, and hopefully I show up here with a preview. So I clicked on preview, and here I am. So right now I don't want the audience to see me talking, so what I can do here, I can click on the pause, and my face is still, so that way they can see who I am, but they're not necessarily going to see what I'm doing next. Now, I want the audience to see what I'm doing, what I'm going to be sharing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on stop sharing, and we're going to focus back on this pod here again. Here is where we're able to share what I'm going to be doing with the audience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on share my screen, and it's going to have an Adobe Flash button click on, which is going to be the add-in. So the add-in asks for permission to run the meeting to use the screen share. And we need to do this because it moves our meeting outside of the browser window, and it actually uses an interface. So the meeting will actually jump out of the browser, and we're able to use it separately. So I'm going to click on yes and allow for this add-on to happen. It's going to download, and we're going to know that it's jumped out of the browser because we're going to be able to see the icon where our icons are located for our computer apps or icons for interfaces such as Internet Explorer, Firefox, Mozilla, etc. So it's connecting. And the interface is launched. Now I'm going to go to my pod again, click on the arrow button, and I'm going to click on recently shared, and I'm going to look for the PDF file that I started with initially. So I'm going to click on rates and ratios. That's the original PDF file that I had, and it's uploaded into our browser. Now we want to invite the participants to our meeting room that we've created. So I'm going to click on meetings, the tab up there. I'm going to click on manage access and entry. Then I'm going to click on invite participants. Now here we're given a URL link which we can highlight and copy and paste and send that invitation link out to all the participants, or we can do it directly through an email from Adobe Connect through composing an email, and we can send that URL out so the participants can get that and they can come right into the meeting. So I'm just going to click on cancel here. Once the attendants do come into the meeting, they will be popping up through here. We can see their names pop up here through the participants, and we will be able to see how many people are attending the meeting. So once participants are entering the room, I'm going to click on my microphone, make sure it's back on, and I know it's on because it's green and I can see the waves. I'm also going to start my webcam so the audience can see me. So now they can see me when I click on the start sharing button, and then I'm on live in the meeting. So once participants enter, I'm able to hold a audio chat or a chat through typing. There's nobody in our meeting room right now, so I'm just gonna click on stop. So that stops my webcam, and I want to close out the meeting now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to meeting. I'm going to go to end meeting. We have this box, so I can just say thank you for ending. I'm just going to cut and paste that, or just leave what we have here. I'm going to click on OK, and now the meeting's ended, and we're done. So that's it. That's how to host a simple meeting through the web. Okay, so I brought us back to the webinar meeting that we started, and I'm going to go back into the enter meeting room, and we're just going to go through some of the functions of the meeting room again. So it's just installing, getting us back to the Adobe Connect browser, and once this loads, we're going to take a look at the meeting platform again. So here is what we had uploaded. In terms of people that are in this meeting, we have the audience and the host. So remember that the host has a lot of privileges. We can upload video, audio, sharing of files, control the audience members, etc. But as a audience, you are basically a participant, but the host can give you additional privileges. So the host is basically the creator by default and has access to many functions for the Adobe Connect browser, and the presenter or the participants, you have limited access in terms of what you can do. So we can actually give the participants any access by basically moving their name, which will appear in this area here, to say drag it to the presenter box here, and they will have different permissions. So they will be able to now share live broadcast rather than just listening to what is being stated. They can share information as well. So it's up to you on how you set up your webinar and who has access to different features to share files, for example. We're going to take a look at the pod title here. I'm going to click on it. And here we have all our different pods. And we already used a pod. We used, well, basically pods contain interactive activities and functions for the host or presenter or whoever you give permission to. So there's a few of them here. And you can actually have these pods be listed through our layout, and we'd have to create a new layout for that. So the first pod here is share. So with this share screen, and we've done this already when we uploaded our case study upload to the screen. Here you can add, once again, anything from a document or from the whiteboard or PowerPoint or JPEG, whatever you'd like. The next pod we have here is called notes. So here you can add notes to the discussion, or edit your existing notes, or add presenter notes. If you click on attendees, here you'll be able to see all the attendees within the webinar that you're creating. For the video, here is the function where you can upload videos to be shared for the attendees. We have our chat pod, and the chat pod's pretty interesting because you can have multiple chat sessions created. You can have selected groups created for a chat session, individual, or you can have everyone in the chat session. The file pods here you can share different files that can be downloadable. Web links as well here. You can have a pod where you can add web links where your attendees can click on it and it will lead them to a new page. So the poll tab here is to poll attendees, and then you also have the Q&A, which is a question and answer session for anyone within the seminar. You can post questions and respond to those as well. So those are the pods within Adobe Connect. Now we're going to look at the layout. So as I discussed earlier, this is one of the standards layouts for Adobe Connect. So if you look in the corner here, there's three different types of layouts. We have sharing layout, which we're on now. We have a discussion layout. If I click here, it gives us a new format of the way our Adobe Connect can look like, and a collaborative sort of discussion area, how it looks like. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to sharing, the original layout that we had, and I'm going to click on layouts. So when we create a layout, it gives us a new structure and a flow to our webinar being presented. So it depends on how you want to set up your seminar. So I'm going to go right now. Once again, these are the three types of generic templates that are given to us. And here we can see my title of my webinar and the sharing, the layout that I have, which is called sharing. So I'm going to click on layouts, and I want to create a new layout. Perhaps I want to show all the pods in my layout, depending on what you want to do, or you want to share some pods in your layout. It's up to you. So let's go to create new layout. Here it says create a new layout or duplicate an existing one. So I can actually click on duplicating the existing one that Adobe Connect has for us, and I can click on the discussion or the collaboration one. It's up to you. But for the sake, we're going to create a new blank one. I'm going to click on new blank layout, and I'm going to give our new layout a name. So I'm going to put layout 1, and I'm going to click OK. So now we have a blank screen, and we can add our pods the way we want, and we can pick which pods we want to add as well. And as you can see on the side, here's our layout 1, our new layout. So I'm going to click on pods right now, and I want to add perhaps a notes pod. So I'm going to add new notes. There it is, and I'm just going to resize this, going to the edge of it and making it shorter there. And I can use this notes as a welcome page, for example, and if I don't like the word notes, I can change that. I just double click and I can make that a new title, which is called welcome. Enter, and I can type in a welcome message. Hello. Okay, so that's one pod. I can add another pod. I'm going to add an attendees pod, and once again I can move this and rearrange it to see all my attendees that are attending. I'm going to add maybe a chat pod, and I'm going so I can see the people that are attending their discussions. I can see all the discussions that are taking place. Now, so we have our fourth layout, which I called it layout 1. So we need to manage our layouts. So we're going to have, if you're having your webinar and you're having a sharing part, a discussion part, a collaboration part, and then the layout 1, which I created, which is sort of like an introduction layout, we need to manage them and add some structure to it. So if you want them to do the introduction part from your layout first, we want to put that first. So I'm going to click on layouts. I'm going to click on manage layouts. But before I do that, here you can see that the layout is at the bottom of the list. I have a sharing platform, the discussion platform, the collaboration platform, and then layout. But I want them to do the layout first, so I want to rearrange that. So I'm going to click on manage layouts. I'm going to leave it highlighted there, use the arrow button to click it up, and I'm going to click on done. So this layout here is first. So when the attendees come in, I can click on this layout, and then when I want them to start sharing, I can click on this layout, and then we have our sharing layout that's given to us. So remember, for every layout that you have, you can add what pods you want to have in them, and you don't have to have the specific name that's given to your pod. You can change that by double clicking and adding whatever you'd like, which I've done here with the chat. I'm going to leave it as chat because I want it as that, but I'm just giving that as an example. So you can change your layout for each one that you have and change names and add different pods. It's totally up to you. Also, if I click on layouts and I go to manage layouts again, you may want to do this. This is something effective to do. You may want to rename in the sense of giving a time frame for them. So for layout, I may say 10 minutes. So here, this is a good effective way to manage your discussion frames where the attendees know how long to stay focused and to do the task for. So I would click on done because I've renamed it and I have that completed, so attendees will know. So here we're going to be looking at the meeting tab, and the meeting tab, once again, which we've already created a meeting. I'm just going to quickly go over the tools, other functions of the meeting tab. I'm going to click on it, and the first tab here, it says manage meeting information. If I click on that, it brings us back to the home page, and here I have to re-log in, use my password, and they'll bring us back to the original home page. And here I'm at my home page, and here I can edit my information, set permissions, edit my meetings, etc. So it's up to you if you want to do that. If not, that's fine. Now the next tab is manage access and entry. So here you can invite participants, you can block guests, you can block incoming attendees, place participants on hold, or promote the participants to presenters, which gives them a more access role with more permissions to upload content, audio, etc. You can also change your role from host to presenter or participant if there's a need to. Preferences here is basically how you want to set up and change your overall presentation, microphone, video, the pods, etc. So that's just something of your choice if you'd like to do that. I'm going to cancel that. Going back here, audio setup wizard, I will go over that um, right now actually. Here we're just basically testing our audio setup to make sure everything's working. So I'm going to click next. Here it says play sound. This will tell us if our sound's actually working. So if I play it and stop, the sound's really high. It's great. So I'm going to click on next to broadcast using our audio to ensure our microphone is connected properly. So I have the built-in microphone on my computer. That's it. If you have another headset, for example, if I click the drop-down arrow, it will be listed. So I only have the one. I'm going to click next. Here, this also tests our recording to make sure that whatever we say through our audio is recording. So if I click on record and I just talk, I can see it's moving. Everything is being recorded. So I can stop it and I can play recording. And I can go next. It came out a little low. I can re-record, but I just have to adjust my volume. I'm going to click next. Here we can detect the silence, so I'm just going to click on test silence. So it's great. There's no background noise. Click next, and here I've completed the audio setup, and I'm done. Everything's great to go, and I have no issues. I'm going to click back my meeting tab here. This tab here allows me to record any meetings. Um, the switch to prepare mode, this allows me to once again make any sort of switch in terms of allowing me to view and edit the layout without interfering with the actual presentation. And you may choose to use this if you wish, if you're making any changes. Also, I have the tab here called the Enable Presenter area. This is an area of Adobe Connect known as the presenter only area. So basically when this is turned on, the presenter area appears on the right side of the meeting room and has a black sort of background. Any pods placed in this Adobe presenter area are visible to the meeting, presenters, and hosts, but not visible to the participant. So the full screen allows for the full screen to be shown. And here we have end meeting when we're finally done our meeting. And if we want to totally log out, we click on Adobe Connect exit here. So here we're just going to look at the audio tools. Here we have a microphone right for the participants so we can give them access and when to speak within the microphone. We can enable single speaker mode. We can also enable the audio conference setting, once again to set it up to your preferences. So if I click on that, we can display the name, the room bandwidth. It's totally up to you on your changes and your liking towards your presentation and how you want to set that up. So I'm going to cancel that. We talked about the volume tool already. Here we can mute our speakers and we can also adjust our speaker volume. Here with the microphone we can connect to our audio or select a specific microphone. Here's our webcam function again, and here we can start our webcam, select a camera that's integrated, or we can enable a webcam for the participants when we're ready for them to look at us. And our final function here is basically the tools that we can use during the webinar where people can use the symbols to state their ideas or something that they want the speaker to do. So they can agree with the comment, they can disagree, they can step away, etc., or they can applause, whatever you want. So it's a good visual tool for the audience to use as well. Here on my document, we can allow for visuals to take place within it. I can click on this arrow, for example, which is a pointer, and I can move it to certain spots where I want the audience to focus on. Also, I can click on the draw tab here, and I can insert text. So if I click here, I want to say hello, how are you? It will appear on their screen. I can use a pencil to draw. I can change the color, etc. So there's a lot of great functions for this, and one of the ways you can use this tool is through one of your pods. Say if you're going to you're going to share your whiteboard, for example. So I want to add a new share, and I want to click on the whiteboard. You can have this as a tool where when people are coming in, they can see your hello message, for example. And you can make it colorful, you can have drawings on it, whatever you may choose to do. So it's a great tool for a visual. So when you're going to start your actual meeting, you're also going to want to make sure that the record function is on. And to do this, I'm going to show you where to go. We're going to click on meeting. We're going to click on record meeting, and we know that it will be recording once we see these certain features that pop up, such as this tab here asking us what we want to name our recording and a summary. We don't have to give a summary. I'm just going to click OK, and I'm going to keep the title the way it is. Now, we know the meeting is being recorded because there's a red light that appears right here. So once this red light is on, it's recording everything that's taking place within the webinar. If we want to pause, we can click on the red button again and click on pause recording. Now everything stopped recording. If you want to resume, you click on resume recording, and it will start back to the way it is. And once again, you can close your meeting by going to the meetings tab above here, and by clicking on end meeting. So in order for us to retrieve what's being recorded, we want to go back to our original home screen where we log on with our email address and enter in our password. So here I've actually logged on, and I've gone back to my home page. I've clicked on meetings, and then it brought me to this page here, and I want to retrieve one of my recordings. So I'm going to click on the webinar meeting that we looked at, and I'm just going to go up, look at the top tabs here. And there's a lot of information. We can edit information, we can edit participants, so we can allow for invitations by sending an email through this Adobe Connect platform. We can upload content, such as visuals, documents, and here are recordings, which we want to look at for our video that the recording we just created. And you can also upload reports, stats, data, whatever you choose to do. So these are more advanced functions. But we're going to look at recordings. I want to make sure that we have the recordings that I've done for this webinar, and I can see there's 3 of them here. One 14 seconds, one 7 seconds, one 10 seconds. So it gives us a time and date, and it allows us to archive this once again for future use, which is great. So since we're on this screen here, I'm just going to click on edit participants here. And when you look at this tab here, there's available users and groups that have been given by the Adobe Connect administration, and you can see my name here. When you have participants that are logging in and that are actually invited in, their names will appear here, below my name here. So what you can do is actually, if you want to give them other permissions, you can say if you want to make them an author or a learner or a meeting host, you can click on it with the name and assign them as a set user role. So I'm already that role, so I don't need to assign myself any roles. So you're able to create groups and users and assign roles the way you please. So you must enter participants when they're not registered. So if you have registered users, you have to allow them to come in. Also, you can search for names as well when participants are coming in to see if they are actually logged in by typing in maybe their first couple of initials, for example, and their name will pop up. And also, once names are in the current participant view, you can double click the name of the person, and you can also assign them roles as well that way, such as the host, participant, or presenter, so they can have whatever roles you want to assign to them. I'm still at the meetings tab here, and I'm just going to show you something really quick. All of these meetings that were created may or may not have a specific layout depending on how you created the layout. So essentially these are now called templates. Like, you can have them as a template. So say if I want to have this as a template, and I can move it to my template folder here, and this is a generic folder that was made and already given through Adobe Connect. So say if I wanted to click on this one here, yeah, I want to store this as a template that I can use later on. I'm going to click on the Move tab here, and then it has my templates here. I'm going to click Move. That means it's going to go to my templates, and it will be stored there. So click on Move, and it's there. So I'm going to press OK, and if I go back to meetings, shared meetings here, sorry. If I want to take one of these meetings as well and make it a shared template for everyone to see, I can do the same thing. I'm going to click on the webinar. I'm going to click on Move, and here I'm going to click on Share Templates. So I'm going to move that file to my shared templates, and once I click on Move, it's going to come up with a warning saying that it's not private anymore. It's going to be shared with everyone, so they're able to see it. So you have to be certain that you want to have this as a shared template. So I'm going to click on OK, and now it's gone, and it's as a shared template. If we click on New Meeting, we can see that New Shared Template is an option for those that are going to set up their meeting. So if I click on this, and I see at the bottom here, that's my shared template that I had definitely just shared just now. So note that any templates that are created can be shared, can be moved, and can be removed back. So they can go back to their original original place where we started them. They don't have to be in a folder. Just like your recordings as well. Your recordings can be edited. There's an edited function when you click on the recordings where we're at, and you can cut some out, add some more information in, and you can also remove it from your seminar if you wish as well, if you didn't want to post it. So as an attendee that's going to attend your webinar, you can either provide them with the URL through email, and once they get that URL, which is unique to that webinar that's created, they can cut and paste it into their browser. And I've copied and pasted it here, and I'm going to click Enter, and this is what their screen will look like. So if they're coming in as a guest, they'd have to leave it there and type in their name and enter. Here you can enter with your login and password for the hosts and also registered users if you're given that option when setting up your meeting. So this is what the screen would look like for those guests when they're entering. And if I wanted to enter in, I would click on this, and I would enter my username, which is once again my email, and my password, and then I'd click on Enter Room as well, and I would be in. We're just quickly going to go through talking about polling. It's another way to make your webinar very interactive and interesting and engaging for your audience. So here's our original layout that we had, and for polling, what I want to do first is I want to create a blank layout. So I'm going to go click on Layout, go to Create New Layout, and then I'm going to click on, leave it clicked here that says Create a New Blank Layout. And I'm going to press, I can make a title for it. I'm going to put polling, and then I'm going to click on OK. So here what this does is just gives me a blank layout. So I don't need any other sort of pods because I'm not using any other sort of form of discussion. I don't want to know who's attending right now or anything like that. So I'm going to click on the pods and click on poll, and I'm going to click on add new poll. So the poll, once again, is a feature where we can use it as surveys, data, polling the attendees that are online. It's up to you how you want to use it. So it's appeared here. I'm just going to shrink the size down a little bit. And we have three features. We can have multiple choice questions, multiple answers, and short answers. So I'm quickly going to create a question. What is your favorite color? And I can put down whatever answers I want here that you can choose from. And right now the audience can't see what I'm doing, but once I click on open, the poll is open. So once again, the audience can't see what the results are until I actually broadcast the results. So when I broadcast the results, if I click on this button here, it will have all the voters who already posted their favorite color in. So I clicked on it. Normally it would show up blue, and it would be rising in terms of who voted for a specific color. So I don't have any people attending, so nothing shows up. So you can also click here to view the votes for specific answers. You can also click on edit if you want to add more colors to your survey. It's up to you. And once again, I click back open, and if I'm done, everyone's already viewed and posted, I can click on end poll there. I can always reopen it when I choose to. So you can use this for quizzes or whatever function you want to use it for. And a good thing about it is that you can adjust the data into percentages. So here, if I click on this little icon up here, I can have the results overall of what people voted, and I can have it show them as a percentage, a number, or both. So it's clicked on both. Now the benefit to that is that sometimes you may have not all the attendees attending the webinar, and you don't want people to see that there's maybe 5 people that only attended. So if you give a percentage, it takes away from the amount of people that attended. So one good thing with the view votes function, if I click on that, is I know there's nobody here, just my name here, but you'll be able to see all the attendees that are voting. And once again, you know, if there's 50 people that's attending the webinar, and you know there's only 5 people voting, you know, you may have to redirect on your approach on how you're going to get the participants engaged. So you can also see how the people voted in terms of how many questions they responded to, and once again, overall, who's paying attention and who's actually participating actively within your poll and seminar. So it's definitely another great tool to keep your audience engaged and something different for them to do and stay interactive within your webinar. So overall, that was an overview of using Adobe Connect for our webinar session, and we can definitely see the effectiveness of it. Just to summarize, you know, we have our tabs here, which we've gone through. We have our area here, which is part of our layouts and on how we want to create our layout. Right now we have chat, so if you want to chat with people within the webinar, you can type in your information here and it will upload with the speaker name, which is me. Here we have the attendee folder here. There's different functions here. You can click to the attendee view. You can click here for the breakout sessions if you wanted to drag names to specific smaller groups for breakout sessions, and then you can start the breakout sessions. And here as well, you can see how active participants are within your webinar. You know, who raised their hand, who agreed, who disagreed with the icons that we have here. So attendees can click on one of these icons whenever they choose to, or when they have questions being asked or whatnot. As well as the video view here. Once again, you can set up how you want your webcam to be displayed, either through grid or through film strip type of style. and here we can adjust it to full screen. So the layout's pretty straightforward. You have the ultimate, as a host, the ultimate permission is what to give everyone else. So if you don't give permission for the webcam use for your attendees, then they won't have that access. So you have to make sure that what you want them to see and what permissions that they have, you have to associate that to them as a host. Overall, this webinar session definitely provides rich experiences for everyone. With Adobe Connect in particular, there's no software to download because it's used with Flash Player. So basically, once you log in, you're good to go if you have Adobe already connected to your system. You can definitely use this with smartphones, tablets, anything else to access this webinar. So it's very portable. Once again, building on the accessibility. And you can determine how you want to present your layout to the audience. And you can change multiple layouts throughout the webinar. So it's essential that you have a webcam and microphone. The other option is, once again, is to set up an audio through teleconference with a phone, and then you'd have to add a number and things like that. So that gets a bit more complicated, but the usefulness of what we're trying to do here today is to focus with webcams and audio to ensure that our webinar runs smoothly. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation. I try to point out the key components of a successful webinar, as well as the components of how to set it up easily and effectively. Once again, I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Hope you have a great webinar session once you get started.